And we are live here at Litvak Leadership Live with my good friend David O'Connor. How you doing today, David?
Doing great, Sean. How are you?
I'm having a blessed day. Yeah. I actually met with someone in person, all masked up. It was at a school which shall remain nameless outside of Louisville, and they want quality cleaning. So who do they call? They call Sean.
There you go. That's the guy.
The quality. So for all of our viewers, we are here today, and let me go so I can see the comments. Hey, Sari's number one today.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Sari, checking it out. Sari, I was just bragging on you to David, too. I was telling him how, I hope he's invited people because you so far have the most viewers of all time on Litvak Leadership Live.
You are infinitely more popular than I am.
Up and here we go. Probably the number one fan who's seen every single video. Yes, it is the one, the only Kenny Mayberry of Annie's Pizza and Harrison County. It's a big day. So David, we've been doing this now for several weeks, and I don't have my list in front of me, but I think you are interview number 20.
All right, that's a milestone. That is a milestone. I like that.
I had told everyone who I talked to about this before I started that I was going to do this for 100 episodes and then evaluate. And everyone gave me the same reaction. You're going to do 100 episodes? I'm like, yeah. So do you know that many people that'll let you interview them? I'm like, well, I hope so. Yeah. I hope you know enough people.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you first, David. So okay. David and I, for the viewers who are watching, we met each other back in either late 1998 or early 1999. My wife and I had moved out to Laconia, Indiana. If you don't know where that is, most people don't. Look on the map, you'll find it. But we weren't in Laconia proper. We were in unincorporated Laconia.
Very unincorporated. Yes.
Very unincorporated. Living on 5 acres of land in an old farmhouse, and we went and joined the First Baptist Church of Laconia, and we met the nicest, sweetest people who were so supportive of these city folk trying to figure out how to live in the country. And David ended up becoming one of my good friends during that time. So
I was one of the not nice, gracious people that you met there, right?
But we're not going to begin with the church. We'll get to church in a few minutes. But what I want to ask you about first is, for those of you who are not connected to David on social media, David is a prolific poster on Facebook. At one point in time, I was posting 8-9 times a day. David is posting. If you want to know David O'Connor and what he thinks, ask him a question. He will tell you the answer. So this is what I'm going to ask you, David. Do you think that social media and the anonymousness of it, even though people are not anonymous, has hurt us in society, that people feel like they can say anything and it doesn't matter?
Yeah. Yes. I think that's a very valid concern. And I think that it is something that I saw it more maybe 4 or 5 years ago than I see now.
Okay.
I think in the very beginnings of social media, it was really even worse because things were even more anonymous then.
Okay.
Now with the prolific, I can't even say the word, the growth of Facebook. At least it's not quite all anonymous. You can still see, like on Twitter and Instagram and some places where things are a little bit more anonymous. Even it does breed a certain amount of anxiety, I think, between people, and a certain amount of where people get, we call it, the keyboard. They get their keyboard strength and their keyboard power.
Oh yeah.
They say things that they would never say in person. They would never be sitting across a desk from someone or sitting in a chair next to them and say some of the things they say on social media. And I think part of it is we have these this great mix of generations, older and younger, and people have a different comfort level in how much they really are better. Some people are better at texting. Some people are better at speaking in short phrases than others.
Sure.
Some people just simply can't get their point across properly in 140 characters or a smaller amount of time. And I think with that lack of comfort for some people, it can create a lot of issues between people at different comfort levels in that, or people at different age levels and different histories with using social media. And again, we have a long enough history now with it that we can evaluate that stuff.
So when you bring up the generational differences, I mean, I remember growing up that my parents would have my grandparents over. So it'd be my parents, my grandparents, and us. And occasionally, even when they were still alive, my great-grandparents on either side of the family. And we would get into lively conversations. And as you bring up now, because my paternal grandfather was an entrepreneur and my maternal grandfather was a union organizer. Imagine those conversations.
Yeah, and opposite ends there.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. But when we look at social media now and we see so many people of so many ages, I mean, how do we train people? How do we encourage people to just not be hateful? Do you think, there is a way to do it without censorship?
Yeah, well, yes, I'm definitely not. Censorship is one of those words that's very touchy, with a lot of people, and I wouldn't want to go down that road. But I do think there's a way through our interactions with individuals. And I always say it's a matter of good people speaking up, because how many times do you hear someone talking, even if it's in person? Say they're at a ball game, and somebody's in the crowd just acting crazy and screaming inappropriate things, and we've all seen those parents, or what have you in the crowd who's just being completely inappropriate. And I used to always hear afterwards, people would say, well, I almost said something. I almost said something to that person.
Yeah.
Well, that to me, that isn't really good enough. You need to actually say something to that, because if the more good people don't speak up, then the longer the problem will go and the worse things will get. So I always think it's something, and I think in social media, it's the same thing. I think you really need to speak up and you really need to say something. When someone puts a post out, and I appreciate it if I put something that rubs someone the wrong way, I truly appreciate it when they call me out on it.
Right.
Either through a message or even in the public forum is fine. I prefer a private message if I did. But if not, it's okay even on a regular post. If I've said something that rubbed you the wrong way, or it made you feel how I didn't intend it to, I want to know, because I've gone back and I've reread things that I've said or put and say, hey, that really didn't come across exactly like I wanted it to, or I can see how it was misinterpreted. And I don't even know if it is misinterpreted. They just may take it not how I intended.
Sure.
And as a communicator, and this is kind of a change that I've had through John Maxwell's training. John is very adamant about, if you are speaking, that it is your responsibility to convey your message properly.
That is correct. And
it is the same way in a social media post or in anything else. You are responsible for how people really react or see what you've put out. Now, a lot of conventional wisdom says, well, they just that's their problem. They interpret it the wrong way. I don't agree with that. I think if you're putting content out, your content you need to be very clear in your message in what you say.
Yeah. And that's why I've pretty much gotten to the point where if I'm going to go back and forth more than 1, 2, 3, once you get to 4, whether it's texting, whether it's messaging, whether it's an email, I know that characters have no tone. And if someone is in a bad place, they're hearing me at my most direct. Not that I've ever been direct in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Not me. Oh, no. And not you either, David. Neither
that's
one
right. That's right.
we're direct.
Yeah.
And that's when it's time to pick up the phone.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I think that's the kind of thing that changes the culture, even in social media, because I think it has the same effect when you can scale things back to a more personal level with someone. If you're having a disagreement, I think that can go a long way. And like you said, if you see after 2 or 3 exchanges and someone, you get the feeling that they are reading you wrong, yeah, pick up the phone and call them.
Pick it up.
And because that can change a lot of things. That can really make a big difference in how it goes. And I think that, and I know the world's a big place, and people will look at their Facebook following and see, however many friends they have, or people, and they will think it would be impossible to do that. They think, well, on that scale you can, but you really can. If someone has an interest in you and you have an interest in them, you can take the time to contact them direct.
Absolutely. So you bring up John Maxwell, and I know at one point in time I had looked at going through the John Maxwell certification, and when I saw you were doing it, and now that you are a certified speaker, coach, trainer, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about it? So first, let me ask you, what intrigued you and convinced you that was something that you wanted to do?
I've been following John for an extended period of time about just his leadership books and the different content he put out. And really, that's what drew me in, was the content that I'd seen over the years. I saw how good it was.
Okay.
And so when I saw the program, it just piqued my interest, because I already knew I bought into the content. And then the more I started looking into it, the more I really appreciated the way that they manage the organization, and because sometimes you can get into an organization and they can pigeonhole you into a small, it's like if you're doing it for financial purposes. I do it more as much for professional development and to develop my work, the people I work with and the teams that I coach, and that as much as I do for additional income or things like that. But you can take any path, and that's what's so great is it applies to all different aspects of how you want to go. You can just jump in full force and go I'm going to be a professional coach and I'm going to change my entire career path and do that.
Right.
They support that, or they support the person that works like I do, that works for a corporation, and just wants to develop himself, develop his team and the people that he works with. And they keep those on. They give both sides the same amount of support and benefit, and that's why once I started looking into it and I started to see those that it's not a stiff hierarchy of you have to this level and then go to that level, and they would needle you to do different things. It isn't. It's none of that. It isn't.
Not Amway.
No, that's right. It's not. And I don't have any issues with multi-level organizations. Some of them are great. Some of them have fantastic people involved. It's a sales organization, though. I'm not a salesman.
Okay.
I'm not a direct salesman. I know everyone's somewhat of a salesman.
Sure.
In any business, but I'm not. That's not what I want to do. If you want to be a multi-level, you need to be a pretty good salesman, and you need to want to sell.
Absolutely.
That isn't anything that the Maxwell team is. They don't pressure that or stress that. They give you the resources there. If you want to go that path, they're all in with you. If you just want to develop professionally on your own, they're in for that as well. So that's kind of how that got. With me, it started with the content, and then it went to the. It really drew me in when I saw how their structure was laid out.
Okay. And so you did it for personal development and to help you with coaching over at South Central, or? Yeah,
coaching teams, and I will do some business coaching with people, different people that I know. If they have businesses, we'll talk some things out,
Sure.
and do that, and I'm always open to that. And I always end up. I'm by nature I'm a teacher, probably before anything else. So and I will speak to to youth groups or to some school classes still. I mean, I taught for a while, but I still have a lot of connections there, and I will occasionally go in with different teachers and speak to their classes and speak to the kids.
So you also, I see you post occasionally about how, and I want to say your employer's name correctly, Acuity.
Acuity, yes, yep.
Acuity and the CEO president of Acuity are the best people company bar none. So that is quite.
I will put in a shameless plug for Acuity Insurance here,
Yeah,
because I've worked several different places over the years, and Acuity is the best organization I've been a part of. I can say that without any hesitation. And Ben Salzman, our CEO, he took, and to know the history of our company, it used to be called Heritage Insurance.
okay.
And several years ago, when Ben became the CEO, he did a complete culture shock to the entire company, and he changed the way leadership was done, and he changed things from management to leadership in just in rough terms. And we went from being and this was before I was there, but I get this from those who have been through the entire situation, through the entire process. And in talking to them, they talk about how it was really a rough organization to work for, and it was kind of a failing organization, and they were having some big issues. And Ben came in as CEO, and just the power of leadership that can be from top down at times completely turned everything around. And now I go in. I mean, we have a Ferris wheel in our home office, Sean.
You have a Ferris wheel?
A legitimate Ferris wheel in our home office. And
in the office or next to the office?
Inside the office.
And how many stories is the office?
Well, it has a large center that is raised up. It's like an open concept office.
Okay.
And it is big. It's large enough to hold it's probably a 15 or 20 basket Ferris wheel right there in our home office.
And is it running all the time, or just
it runs like 2 or 3 days a week, or at special events? Runs every special event they have in the office. And the company does a lot of community. Well, they haven't since all the COVID things, but before that, and we'll get back to that after all this is over. Yeah, they will bring in kids groups and schools, and things from the community. They'll have like fun fest type parties and different things, and they'll bring people up there, and they'll run them through the home office, and they'll go and ride the Ferris wheel, and it's an interesting home office. So if you want to look it up, acuity.com is our company website, and it has pictures of all that, and they also buy like local artwork, and they commission like for small artists, they'll commission pieces and things that they have all over the office up there. We have some pretty impressive glass work that's done there.
And where's the headquarters?
It is in Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
Oh, Sheboygan.
Yes.
I have colleagues in Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
I'm sure if you ask them, they will know. We also have the largest flagpole and mounted flag in the nation is at our home office.
In Sheboygan.
Yeah, you can't. Okay. You cannot miss it. If you're lost in downtown Sheboygan or anywhere around Sheboygan, you just have to look for the flagpole, and it'll just find it, and you'll be able to find your way back to the office. So
before we move on to the next topic, David is a Army veteran. So before we go on any further, that is something that I look back on my life and say, maybe the military would have given me more discipline to start out with, to launch me. So thank you for your service, first of all.
Thanks.
And what I'd like to know is, what did, because you were in the military for 13 years. So what did the military do to prepare you for all that you have done since then?
I think obviously discipline is probably the primary thing, and not only self-discipline, because that was a big part of it, but also where it teaches you to buy into an organization's discipline.
Okay.
Where if you are going, if you're part of an organization, the organization has a path, and you need to discipline yourself as part of that organization. I think for me, that was probably, as somebody who is, by nature more of a rugged individualist, I kind of needed that coming up, that I was able to buy into what other people were doing, not just buying into what I wanted to do. And I think the military really helped me with that. And I had some great leaders that were involved there. And that's always one of the things, and I alluded to it earlier a little bit, with the difference between management and leadership. Personally, I would like to never use the term management, or manager, but because I'm very difficult. I am not a great employee if someone tries to manage me and tries to direct me to, specifically what I'm doing. But I can be led easily. If you're a good leader, and if you give me an idea of the direction we're going, and you show me the direction we're going, I will follow. I'll fall in right behind you, and I may end up, following from the front if it's something that if it needs to be done. But it's really difficult for me to be managed by someone and just, hey, get these numbers out, or get this specific task, or what have you. So I'm much bigger on leadership than the management side. And again, the military, that's really what they stress, because it's always stressed that everyone in the military is a leader, because you never know when whoever is above you is going to go down.
Sure.
If they go down, someone has to step up and do it. And that was that. So those factors from the military have really helped me in my career and in my path since then.
I think you would agree that it's been my experience, at least in leadership, that the best leaders are those that when they hear an idea that resonates, that's effective, that's efficient, that solves a problem, that they're willing to step aside and go more into a following role of the person who has the catalyst of that idea, and give them a chance to move forward with it, as opposed to those managers that try to steal their subordinates' ideas and make them their own.
That is a fantastic way to put it, because that is exactly what the difference, and how things you can see how one can be so demeaning and defeating to a team member, and the other can be so uplifting and so empowering. And that really is the key to the difference, and you hate to say that it's about that acknowledgement, but it really is. I mean, people want to be acknowledged, but we should want to be acknowledged for our own work and our own is, rather than taking someone else's, and running with it. And I think those are some pretty key leadership points.
So I know that you were the leader of Awana for a while back in the day at First Baptist Church, and I know the church recently had a fire. It is being rebuilt with new improvements, and it's really a cornerstone of the community there, a shining light in Elizabeth, helping folks out. Why don't you talk a little bit about the rebuilding effort at the church and what the church has done for the community?
Okay, we are. The church has been around since the 50s. There was a Baptist, a First and Second Baptist split apparently back then. I wasn't there at the time, but I've been there. We moved here when I was 9, early midsummer of 1980, and we've been there. I've been a member since then. We started going to church then. There. At that point, I've been there ever since, and I've been through the role. I've taught a lot of Sunday school. I was our youth director. I'm our youth team leader. I'm a chairman of our deacons. Now, and getting ready to. I feel like I should be retiring because I've been there for a while, but we keep having issues come up. So, and really we have gone. I remember there were times when there would be 7 or 8 people on Sunday. Sunday morning, and now we average 135, give or take.
Wow.
Which, when you got to see, I always consider us I know a lot of people will look at us and say we're a small country church, but when you look at the ratio of church attendance to the town of Elizabeth's, the number of people in the town,
Right.
We have more people attend on Sunday mornings than there's in Elizabeth proper. So we're actually I like to call us a country mega church. That's what I go with. I mean,
if you look at church, I like that.
If you look at those ratios for people in the town and people attending our service, and then you look at the people in the city of Louisville, the people that attend Southeast Christian, I would say we're probably, I think we may even be a little bit better on the ratios.
So wait.
Mega church. Yeah.
So less than 135 people live in Elizabeth, but 135 people go to First Baptist Church of Elizabeth.
Yeah. So that's right. That's where we're mega church status is what we'll go with.
So I mean, and I remember the size of the sanctuary. How are you going to fit 135 people in that sanctuary?
It's rather tight sometimes. We've gone to 2 services when we're back up and going. We were before the fire. We were on 2 services Sunday morning.
Okay.
And so that, because it would just for that reason, because in theory the sanctuary will hold 200 people, but if you put 200 people in there, it is awfully tight. So we've gone to 2 services on Sunday mornings for that. So we do a morning service and then a Sunday school between, and then a service after that. So it's kind of Sundays get to be a long day there. But with, as far as the fire goes, when where we're at right now, we are actually looking to be up and going back by Thanksgiving.
Come on
they've really been moving well on it. They're doing a ServPro of Louisville and Southern Indiana. They did the mitigation work, and they're doing our build as well. They're subcontracting everything and doing that, and they're doing a fantastic job.
That's great. Yeah, someone had posted the stairway is going to be bigger.
Yes, stairway. We've worked out all those code issues, on our stairs that had been grandfathered through, and so it's really moving along very well. And they made some changes to our roof line and to our opening stairs and deck area and things that we were able to take care of through the build. So it's going to be great when it's done. It's going to be really, really something.
So you've coached various teams over at South Central. And now it looks like you're coaching junior high girls basketball.
I do elementary girls.
Girls, okay.
And then I also do high school boys, freshman and varsity assistant.
Okay.
And then I'm varsity track assistant in the spring. So
wow. So it's quite, for all that coaching is quite the responsibility. And for those who don't know, South Harrison high school has one of the premier girls basketball teams in the state. If you are coaching the elementary school girls, it is your responsibility to make sure that there is a team, 3 years later, David. How is that weight sitting on your shoulders?
Well, I'll tell you, I was very fortunate to work for Randall Shane was our girls coach that in his 20 years as at the helm, he won 10 sectionals, a couple regionals, and went to the state finals from one of the smaller schools in the state. So he did a fantastic job. Coach Shane is retired now, and we're still moving things forward. But yeah, he was always he would always let you know that you had a lot of responsibility with coaching, in his program and what he expected the girls to be able to do when they came out. And I've had the last 2 years of really very good teams. This year I've got another really good team at that level, and we try to implement what the varsity program is going to do and get them started the right way.
So I know that your son lives in the area still, and your 2 grandchildren are very active within your lives. Your grandson, any interest in sports? Has some development been going on there?
Yeah, he's
quite the baseball player too.
Yeah, he's 3. Maverick is 3, so we're getting him primed up. They are actually moving. They just bought a new house in Charlestown.
Okay.
They're moving to Charlestown, so they're going to be pirates from here on out. So I hate developing for another school, but who knows? Down the road, I may end up there. So
there you go. Yeah, because now that's Chris in the picture behind you, right?
correct. Yes, he was a high jumper, and that's him winning a conference title. So
pretty cool. Pretty
yep.
cool. So David, when you look over your career and you think about the various people you've met who have encouraged you and been leadership examples to you, what stands out to you?
Wow, that's a great question.
I just plucked that one out of the sky. So
I think the things that stand out to me is how really nice and gracious other people have been to me.
Okay.
It's different because I do a lot of different things. So I've entered a lot of different arenas career-wise. And every time there's always been people who have really gone out of their way to help me and to be really, gracious is really the only word I can say, because I've had great mentors, and I've had a lot of people that have put a lot of time, into working with me. I've put in a lot of work, myself as well, but it is really been beneficial to me to have a lot of good people do things for me and with me. And I would say through it all, that is kind of a theme that just has repeated itself over and over again with me. That there's been other people willing to put their time into me, and so I in turn try to put my time into other people and then help develop them as well. Because there's no way I could be where I am without the help of other people.
Yeah,
and I think
none of us have gotten where we are today. None of us emerged from the womb with all the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge that
that's right. Yeah.
What is Sari saying here? Diversification is key. Learning that, talking to different people.
Yep, that's true. You never want to be have that group mentality of it's my way and we're all right. We all agree on the same thing. It is always good to have that those other voices that you hear and listen to and take into account. It may not change your attitude, or it may not change your position, but it is very good to hear from all sides.
Awesome. So we've gone half an hour. It's boom, boom, lickety split every single time. I've yet to interview anyone in the 20 people I've interviewed where I'm like, well, we just get done. They all go so fast. So we've gotten to the point in the show where I ask the same question every time. In the last 2 minutes that we have, what do you want people to remember about David? What impression do you want to make on them that they take away?
Okay, that's another great question, Sean. And it's funny when you think you're ready for a question, and then you get it, you're not as ready as you think you are. What I always, and I think it kind of would go along with what I was just saying about, spend your time investing in other people, invest in yourself, invest in your development. And it is critical that you become the best version. I mean, we hear that's kind of cliche sounding, but it is real that you want to become the best version of you that you can be. I think that's critical. It's critical that you become the best version that you can of yourself. Spend some time, spend some energy in developing yourself, but then transfer that over and help some other people. Look around to see who you can help and what you can do to have an impact on those around you. Because again, whether we like to admit it sometimes or not, like you said, we didn't come out of the womb already, and prepared and able to do everything. And we all need someone, or various someones in our lives to help us along. And I think that's part of. And again, this goes back to my faith. Obviously, my Christian faith, and I know you share my faith as well.
Absolutely.
And that's part of who we are. And I think that is something that is a mandate for us. But I think even if someone is not a Christian or has a different path of their faith, it is still good business for everyone. I think I don't know that you will ever regret spending time and energy trying to help other people. You may get hit with some short term, you know, problems, or some things may not go your way. But in the long run, I think if you invest in other people, it's going to pay off for you and for them, and then for the society as a whole. So I think that's what I would want them to remember about me, is the importance of connecting with other people and becoming a help to other people.
See, and now this is the great thing about live stream, because here's immediate feedback. Thank you for sharing yourself with us, David, paying it forward. So you've made one fan in Melissa Cobb.
All right, I love that. That's good. Yeah.
Melissa's a friend of mine from IFMA. As a matter of fact, she's going to be on the show in a few days to talk about signage and a few other things that she's not aware of yet. So, David, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you had fun.
Yes, I did. I had a great time, Sean. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet. And everyone, if you'd like to be interviewed on the show, or you know someone who should be interviewed on the show, you think, send me an email to interview@litvakleadership.com, and we'll talk to them and see what we can do to get them on. But otherwise, again, David, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone else, have a great day. Be blessed.
Thanks, Sean.